What's the strangest thing you've seen while delivering pizzas? Once, I delivered a pizza in a pretty rough neighborhood. 3 Latinos opened the door, and when one of them went to get the money, I noticed huge piles of cash, a lot of meth, enough weed to kill Snoop Dogg, and about 20 guns. I was very scared. He tipped me $20 cash and told me not to tell anyone. I hope they're not on Reddit. Hey, you just ratted me out. You're done for. One guy opened the apartment door completely naked. I was stunned, but what happened next made me wonder if he was some kind of frigging magician. He reached behind his back and pulled out a wallet. The only reasonable explanation I found was that he had clenched the wallet between his buttocks. I must say, that's a pretty powerful move. One Saturday evening, I was delivering a pizza to a high-rise building. I got into the elevator, and there was a guy dressed like a pimp who tried to buy the pizza I was supposed to deliver from me. He didn't even ask what kind it was or how big. He just pulled out a $100 bill and said, "I'll buy it for $100. I politely refused him. Then he pulled out another $100 bill and offered me $200. I told him I could get fired. It was hard to turn down. Here's where it gets interesting. I approached the door of the guy the first was supposed to deliver the pizza to. He opens the door, and he also looks like a pimp, wearing a huge, colorful jacket, grabs the pizza, gives me $100, and closes the door. The pizza cost about $35, so a $65 tip. In short, I got the biggest tip of my life from a guy dressed like a pimp just seconds after turning down the biggest bribe of my life from another guy dressed like a pimp. Pimp buddies were obviously testing the loyalty of local pizzerias. I think the pimp in the elevator wanted to buy the pizza to pretend to be the second pimp's courier. When the second pimp opened the door, the first pimp would shoot the second pimp. Your integrity saved the pimp's life. At least that's how I would tell my grandchildren. Once, a guy opened the door with a snake on his shoulders. Not a small snake or a garter snake, but a royal python, about 2 meters long, I guess. When he closed the door, I heard him telling someone that I didn't react at all. Lol, it sounded so disappointed. Just the other day, I had a delivery where 2 guys, about 25 years old, met me on the roof of a house in their underwear. They were obviously thrilled with the delivered pizza. Did you throw the pizza up like Walter White? One kid ordered a large pepperoni pizza. When I got to the house, he wasn't there. So I called him. He said he was in the bathroom. So I had to wait 18 minutes for the payment. You should have charged him a couple of bucks for the wait. I work for DoorDash and Grubhub, sometimes delivering pizzas. Once, I got an order from both apps at the same time, with the same contents, from the same restaurant, and both customers were named James, and I had to deliver to the same hotel. When I knocked on the door, there were 2 guys who asked me if I was from DoorDash or Grubhub. I told them I had both their orders. They started laughing hysterically. When I asked what was so funny, they told me they had bet on whose order would arrive first. They thought there would be 2 different couriers and never imagined that one person would use both apps. I laughed too and asked who was James. They said they were both named James. I still wonder what other funny things these 2 guys try to come up with. When I arrived, 3 guys in underwear were waiting for me. As I was handing over the pizza, other guys in underwear, but also wearing cowboy hats and Indian headdresses, were coming out. It was some kind of Halloween party or something. I had to pull the tip out of a guy's bra. It was damn funny, but when I left the building, I had to stop for a second to think. There was one order from a young couple. I arrived pretty early and probably interrupted their sex. The drunk guy had no idea he was wearing his girlfriend's skirt. Nothing unusual, but it was very hard not to laugh. I arrived with my order at the place, and while standing on the doorstep, waiting for the guy to pay, I heard moans and groans coming from the house. The guy kept glancing back at the living room and laughing. After he paid and gave me the cash register, he said, "Damn dude, You have to see this." He stepped back, and I walked into the living room where about 5 other guys were watching on a huge TV. A guy fucking the belly fold of a 300-pound woman. That must be my dream pizza delivery job. In general, I worked as a food delivery guy for 2 years, completing just over 3,500 deliveries. And, unfortunately, I didn't see a single strange situation, not even something as mundane as a naked person. Maybe you just have high criteria for what you consider strange. Yes, I guess after the 69th delivery to a swinger party, it no longer seems that unusual. Back in my college years, I delivered pizzas. I had an order at the local county jail. An officer was leading someone to the cell. The guy being taken to jail with handcuffs behind his back escaped from the officer, and as I was walking in, he collided with me. I'm pretty sure that guy was on meth. The officer tackled us both to the ground and subdued him. I was covered in pizza sauce, and the officers on that shift took the pizza and each gave me $20. I reported this to my manager. We made a new pizza, and I brought it back to them. The cops were grateful and tipped me more. For one delivery, I made about $400. I'd like to add that every time they ordered pizza from us, they always asked for the responsible guy to deliver it and always gave me good tips. I thought this was going to turn into a Spider-Man situation where you let him go and then he kills your uncle. Once, I delivered a pizza late at night. The guy who called told me the customer, let's call him Mark, was an old man and it might take some time for him to get to the door. I arrived at the house. All the lights were off. There was no car in the parking lot. No one answered. I knocked on the door. No one answered. Called the mobile. Silence. Called again. Still nothing. At that point, I had been waiting for this guy for about 15 minutes. Just as I started to return to the car, I heard the front door open, so I went back. The light was still off, so I could only see a young girl's head peeking out from behind the door. She refused to fully open the door to take the pizza. Then I heard another girl behind her saying, "What's the difference if he sees? Open the door." She opened it a bit wider so I could sign the check. She couldn't see anything, so I offered to turn on the flashlight on my phone so she could sign. Then I realized that both girls were naked. Since I'm a good worker, I looked away when she signed, then headed back to my car. As I was leaving, one of them shouted at me, "Have a nice evening, Mark is already having one," and I laughed, as I had completely forgotten that it was the old man's house. Mark couldn't come to the door because he was tied up. Delivered an order to a hotel. The guy fainted 3 times in 10 minutes during our meeting. It looked like he was narcoleptic, but it still scared the hell out of me. Narcoleptic here. He probably had a cataplexy attack. We don't pass out, we're still conscious but lose muscle control, so it looks like we've passed out. In some rare cases, it can look like a seizure, because we try to move to cause spasms. This happens because of emotions, so he was probably nervous or something like that. One of my neighbors killed a pizza delivery guy. The guy worked as a delivery guy while studying in college. The neighbor got life for premeditated murder. They clearly said delivery would be within 30 minutes or sooner. As wise men say, forgiveness is a gift from God, but never pay full price for a late pizza. Lady with pugs. Just before closing time, we got strange orders for 2 pieces of chocolate cake and 2 cans of whipped cream. Whipped cream wasn't on the menu, so the customer prepaid and made arrangements with the management. Because of this, she considered herself a VIP. She was extremely fat, had 3 pugs, behaved rudely, and never tipped. That night was very cold. It was a bad shift. And of course, I was called to the trailer park. I decided that today would be the day I would get my revenge. I opened the cans of whipped cream and crushed her cakes. I delivered the order and told her to stop ordering 5 minutes before closing. By the time I got back to the restaurant, she had already complained. My boss refused to pay me until I brought her proper cans. And here's where it gets interesting. When I returned, she had her dress lifted. I couldn't help but notice wet, smeared whipped cream all over her crotch, staining her black leggings. Looking down, I saw one of the pugs with its face covered in whipped cream, dripping from its chin. When I explained to my boss that she was most likely abusing animals, he finally put her on the blacklist. When I read Lady with Pugs, I was happy. Hooray! Finally something interesting, not weird sex stuff. It ended with weird sex stuff. My colleague from my previous job was delivering pizzas when he was in college. Once he told me that one time, as he approached the place, a group of high school students ran across the street with a finish line banner as soon as he stopped. They had simultaneously ordered pizza from Pizza Hut and Domino's. I don't remember where exactly he worked, but he won the race. I now want to try doing that. I delivered a pizza to a young girl who was home alone, and as soon as she opened the door, her dog ran away. I gave her the pizza, got in my car, found the dog, and returned it. She didn't tip me, so I was upset on the way back to the restaurant. A few hours later, her mother called the place and asked for me. She thanked me and explained that they had set aside money for a tip, but her daughter was so upset about the dog that she forgot to give it to me. I worked at that pizzeria for over 2 more years while I was in college. After that incident, they ordered 2 large pepperoni pizzas every week and always requested me to deliver them. They always tipped me no less than $25. I'm so happy that the ending was happier than the beginning might have initially suggested. Good thing you were a man and found her dog. Those little rascals can run far and hide well. Watch other videos on our channel.